In this video, you will learn about the standard operating procedures, safety features, and emergency procedures of the AS-350 A-Star series helicopter. This video will give you general knowledge of Pathfinder's operating procedures, but the helicopter you will be riding in may have slight differences. Always ask your pilot if you have questions about your aircraft. Each aircraft is equipped with briefing cards accessible to each passenger. Ask your pilot if you cannot locate one. Please do not remove them from the aircraft. The A-Star helicopter can carry up to 5 passengers and gear, depending on weights and fuel load. Pathfinder helicopters are equipped with cargo compartments and an external basket for storage. Always check with the pilot before loading any gear into the helicopter or basket. The A-Star has 2 seats in the front and 4 in the back. The pilot flies from the front right seat. Passengers may sit in the front left seat or the back seats. The pilot may ask you to sit in a specific location for weight and balance considerations. When operating the doors, you could encounter 2 different door combinations. The most common is a hinged front door and a sliding rear door. To open the front door, turn the handle 90 degrees down and pull the door gently. To open the slider, turn the handle 90 degrees down, pull the door outward a few inches, and slide gently toward the rear of the aircraft. To open the slider from inside, find the lever handle in the bottom front corner. Rotate back and up, and then push out on the rear of the door and slide rearward. If you happen to slide the door all the way rearward, you will hear a click when it locks into the open position. Before closing, you will need to push in on the red tab at the top back corner of the door while sliding it forward out of the lock position. Slide the door gently to the forward stop. Push in on the handle and then turn 90 degrees up to the lock position. Do not force the door in or force the handle to turn. You may have to move the door around slightly to find the spot where it will push in with the least resistance. To close the front door, push or pull it firmly into the frame and turn the handle 90 degrees up to the closed position. Do not close the slider from inside. The person riding in the front will close the slider from the outside before getting in. Do not slam either door. This will likely break or damage the aircraft. If your helicopter does not have a slider, it will have a small hinged rear door and a larger hinged door in front. It is not necessary to open the small rear door to get in or out. If you need to open the door for more space, open the front door first. The rear door is held closed by 2 spring-loaded pins at the top and bottom. Turn the pin to lock into the open position and pull away from the door frame. When opening the small door, do not let it contact the basket or squirrel cheek. To close the rear door, hold firmly closed while moving the pins back into the lock position. Close the rear door before closing the front door. The front doors can be fully removed for an emergency exit. To remove the door, pull away the plastic cover from the orange handle on the lower front cover of the door. Pull up on the orange handle. The door will fall away completely from the aircraft. Only do this if necessary in an emergency. In case of an emergency, the aircraft is equipped with an emergency locator transmitter, or ELT. The ELT is mounted in a cargo compartment and it is designed to activate on impact. It can also be manually activated by a switch on the ELT unit, or by pressing the remote switch labeled ELT on the dash to on. The red light will flash when it is activated. In case of a hard landing, the engine can be shut down by pulling back on the red lever located on the ceiling between the front seats. The rotor blades can be stopped by pulling back on the yellow handle. Pull down on the thumb switch on the back of the lever and then pull the lever all the way back until it locks. There is a fire extinguisher mounted on the back of the pilot's seat. The fire extinguisher is intended to be used on electrical fires and for creating a path to exit a burning aircraft. To use, remove from bracket, pull the pin, aim at the base of the fire, squeeze the lever, and sweep from side to side. Emergency survival equipment and first aid supplies are located in the orange bag in the aircraft's side baggage compartment. This bag may be on the left or the right side depending on the job and pilot's preference. An additional orange bag of equipment will be carried for winter operations. For flights over water, you will be issued an inflatable personal flotation device. Wear your PFD for the entire flight, unless directed otherwise by the pilot. The helicopter will also be equipped with emergency inflatable floats on the skids. Be careful not to step on these float bags when getting in or out of the aircraft. In case of a water landing, do not inflate your PFD until you are outside of the aircraft. To inflate, pull down on the red tab. You can also manually inflate your vest by blowing into the red tube. Your PFD is equipped with a whistle and a light that will automatically activate when in the water. When carrying cargo, it is preferred to let the pilot do the loading so they can make sure the aircraft remains within weight and balance limitations. The cargo basket is the primary cargo compartment. Make sure all gear is entirely contained when the lid is closed. Nothing should be protruding or small enough to exit through the wire mesh. There should be no lightweight or loose items that might fly away when the basket is opened. Additional cargo space is available in the aft baggage compartment. To open, press the raised side of the two latches. Do not put any liquids or wet gear in this compartment. Sensitive electronics are located beneath the panel. If more cargo space is needed, gear can be placed in the side compartment behind the basket. To close the baggage compartments, hold the door closed while pushing down the raised portion of the locks until they click into the lock position. The cargo doors activate a warning light on the instrument panel when they are not properly closed. Check with the pilot that this light is off after accessing the side baggage compartments. Let your pilot know if you have any hazardous materials. Common hazmat items like fuel, oil, or glycol are generally okay as long as the pilot has been informed of these items and they are packed properly. Other hazardous materials such as explosives require special procedures and paperwork. Always inform your pilot if you think your cargo could be considered hazardous. If you have bear spray, it is critical that it is never carried inside of the aircraft. If bear spray leaks or sprays inside, it would incapacitate everyone, including the pilot. Bear spray should be placed in an appropriate case or inside a backpack in the cargo basket. If you forget and realize that you have bear spray inside the aircraft while airborne, do not panic. Do not reach for it. Calmly alert your pilot, and they will land as soon as possible to remove it from the cabin. If your job requires you to carry a firearm on the helicopter, you need to declare it to the pilot. All firearms must be unloaded and stowed properly. When boarding the helicopter, designate a pod leader who will be the person who sits in the front left seat. They will be the last one who loads. When loading, use 3 points of contact and watch for slippery surfaces. Use the front grab handle and the passenger seat for handholds. Do not attempt to clear mud or snow off your boots by kicking the helicopter. Do not grab the door or the pilot's seat. Take a seated position on the left side and slide across the seat to the right. Do not try to crouch walk across the back. Locate your seatbelt. The buckle may be on the left or the right depending on which side of the helicopter you're on. The two belt ends should be color coordinated. After the first passenger gets their seatbelt on, they can help the next person by locating theirs and holding it out for them. It is helpful to let the person ahead of you get their seatbelt buckled before you board. The left outboard seatbelt needs to be always buckled, even if the seat is unoccupied. A loose seatbelt can end up hanging out of the door and damaging the aircraft. Once all passengers are seated, the front passenger closes the rear slider door, checking to make sure that nothing is hanging out of the door and that all cargo in the basket is secured. They then load up in the front left seat. The front seatbelt is a 4-point harness. Locate the waist strap with the hub, find the opposite waist strap, and insert the tab into the side of the hub. Follow up with the shoulder straps. To release the seatbelt, rotate the hub 45 degrees to release the tabs. You might encounter a 4-point harness with a metal hub and locking lever. Place the lever in the 45-degree up position, insert each belt's metal tab with the catch point pointed towards you and into the gap around the hub. Once all the tabs are in, push the locking lever down flush with the face. To release, lift the lever up to the 90-degree position. Important flight controls are located between the front two seats. It is critical that nothing is stowed in this area. Camera straps need to be worn around the neck. Nothing should be hanging or dangling off your person. If you accidentally drop something between the seats, do not reach for it. Inform the pilot, and they will retrieve it for you when it is safe to do so. If your seat is equipped with a headset, you can put it on to reduce the noise and communicate with the pilot or other passengers. The microphone is voice activated. The microphone must be very close to your mouth for your voice to transmit clearly. Avoid talking during takeoff and landing to minimize distractions for the pilot unless necessary for safety. In flight, remain seated with your seatbelt on the entire flight. You may take pictures in flight, but be careful not to scratch the window with your camera lens. If your window fogs over, do not wipe it. Let the pilot know and they can open fresh air vents to clear it off. If your window is equipped with an opening slider, do not stick your hands, camera lens, phone, or any items outside of it. If you open the slider window for air, take precaution that all items are secured. We typically fly at speeds over 100 miles per hour, and any item, no matter how small, that flies out of the window could create a safety hazard. There is no smoking within 50 feet of the aircraft at any time. This includes vaping. It is against federal regulations to carry marijuana or illicit drugs on your person or in your bags. When landing, limit unnecessary distractions to the pilot unless you see an immediate hazard you think the pilot might not be aware of. Do not remove your seatbelt until the rotor blades have come to a complete stop or you are instructed it is safe to do so by the pilot. Make sure to refasten all seatbelts before disembarking. It is common practice to load and unload passengers with the engine running and rotors turning. This is often referred to as hot loading. When hot loading, the pilot will remain at the controls while the passengers load or unload themselves and their gear. To work safely around a running helicopter, you need to be aware of the two rotor systems, the main rotor system and the tail rotor system. The main rotor system generally sits 8 to 10 feet from ground level, but can be much lower with pilot control input, gusty winds, or sloping terrain. The tail rotor is at the back of the helicopter. It is unguarded and right at eye level. It is easy to forget about because most people are paying more attention to the main rotor. For your safety, never walk around the back of the helicopter. Stay forward of the rear baggage compartment even when the helicopter is off. When hot loading, the rotor and engine running create a lot of noise and wind. This environment can create the illusion of urgency, leading you to want to rush, which can cause mistakes or create additional hazards. The best antidote to this situation is to take a deep breath and do everything slowly and deliberately. If something blows away when loading or unloading, do not chase after it. Inform the pilot when able. Hearing and eye protection are also highly recommended when working around a helicopter. Before loading, designate a pod leader. The pod leader will be responsible for opening and closing doors, loading cargo, and will ride in the front seat. When the helicopter is landing to pick you up, always secure any loose items around the landing zone. Remove hats or hard hats not secured by chin straps. Hold on to smaller packs and gear, and make sure there is no loose trash or debris that can blow up into the rotor system. Before approaching the helicopter, wait until you get a positive indication from the pilot, usually a thumbs up sign. Only approach the helicopter from the 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock position. The preferred approach angle is 45 degrees to the passenger side. The safest places to be are well outside of the rotor disc or right beside the helicopter. When approaching from the right, walk to the right side door, then closely around the nose. Be careful not to touch the pitot tube, which sticks out from the front and is very hot. The terrain around the landing zone may dictate which side you approach or depart the helicopter from. Be aware of rising terrain that will take you up closer to the blades. Carry all gear below waist level. Remove backpacks before entering the rotor discs, or remove them when you are right up next to the helicopter. Carry any longer items, such as shovels or survey rods, either with 2 hands, low to the ground and horizontal, or drag them behind you with 1 hand. Never carry items over the shoulder. Before the last person boards the helicopter, they must look at all the baggage compartments, slider door, and aircraft basket to make sure they are closed properly and that nothing is sticking out. When hot unloading, follow the same procedure as hot loading. Wait until your pilot gives you the go-ahead to unbuckle your seatbelt and open the door. Keep gear low to the ground and walk away from the helicopter at a 45-degree angle from the left side. Your pilot may designate a different departure path or instruct you to a certain point such as a rock or a tree, depending on the terrain. The pod leader should look over the helicopter to confirm all doors and baggage compartments are closed and that nothing is hanging out. They then give the pilot the thumbs up sign that all passengers are clear and the aircraft is ready to fly. In some situations, the helicopter might have to land right beside you to hot load. The pilot will discuss this situation with you beforehand, either over the radio or in a briefing before landing. Make sure all gear is secure. Do not cover your eyes. Wear eye protection and keep watching the helicopter in case you need to move to keep clear of the aircraft. Remember, this is a general safety briefing. Your pilot may have additional guidelines for your specific aircraft or job. Always ask if you are unsure about anything before or during your flight. Thank you for choosing Pathfinder Aviation. Enjoy the ride.